Hi guys, it's your French teacher Andrei here, and in today's lesson we are going to talk about the imparfait. Well, let's see. How do we use it? Firstly, when we describe a situation that is in the past. For example, we have an example. Quand il était petit, Lucas aimait beaucoup les gâteaux. When he was a child, when he was little, uh, he used to love a lot the cake. Then we have this descriptions of people's or movies that happened in the past, right? Historical movies, for example, or some habits in the past. For example, Lucas était un enfant très gourmand. We know that by saying that Lucas was a child, a child is in the past because now he's an adult, right? So if he is an adult now, when we're talking about past experiences, childhood experiences, then we use the imperfect of the verb être. Lucas était un enfant très gourmand. Lucas was a very gourmand child, a child that ate a lot. Then, at the end, as I said, about action habituelle, about um, things that are meant to be like a routine, actions that have repeated in the past. For example, when we say tous les jours il faisait un gâteau avec son amie Florence, that means that each day he made a cake with his friend Florence, right? Also, actions that happen simultaneously in the past, they will both need to use the imperfect tense. And how do we do that? For example, pendant, which means while in English, pendant qu'il regardait la recette, Florence préparait la pâte. Well, while he was watching the recipe, Florence prepared actually the thing that they were working on. So basically, there are two simultaneous actions that happened in the past, right? And also, when we insist over a fact with whose actions are placed in the past, then we are going to use the imperfect tense. Il cuisait le gâteau puis mangeait une part de ça. Right? Next, we are going to talk about how do we form, because we've identified here many imperfect tenses, many verbs in a perfect tense, like était, aimait. We have était over here once again. We have faisait. What do we have? We have regardé. We have préparé. We have cuisé. Cuisé. We have mangé. Right? So how do we form this type of tense? Well, the thing is, for forming this tense, there are let's say some type of rules for this. Especially, I'm going to go separate in a separate video to talk about the third group, because the third group is slightly, let's say, um, is slightly different in some cases. There are some verbs that have a certain way of forming the imperfect tense, and it's easier to understand them through an exercise dedicated for them. But for the first group, what you basically do, you take the present of the uh, you take the present of the verb that you're trying to conjugate. Let's say, for example, here, well, we have aimait, right? We have aimait. If I were to conjugate it in first plural at the present, I would say aimou, right? But we are going to take out the ons termination. We're going to take it out. We're going to strike it like this. So what we are left with is what we call the radical, which is going to be basically what we attach to the following terminations that are specific for the imperfect tense: ays, ays, ayt, yons, yez, ayent. Right? So in this sense, we have them over here: ays, ays, ayt, yons, yez, and lastly ayent. Sorry. Okay, good. Next, we have the second group, which contain verbs like réagir, réussir, finir, that are considered to be in the second group. We talked about them in when we talked about the present tense. We also mentioned there that we have to adjust the radical by attaching an yss. This rule will keep happening over here as well. Otherwise, the thing otherwise it is the same that we've had so far. So basically, we conjugate in the present tense. We take the form from the first person plural. We take out the specific termination. We are left with réussis, right? Then we attach the termination specific for the imperfect tense. So we have je réussissais, tu réussissais, il et l'on réussissait, nous réussissions, vous réussissiez, il elle réussissent. Réussissait. Sorry. Okay, so that would be it for forming the imperfect tense. I'm also going to attach over here and we're going to discuss a little bit, let's say, about um the uh, I'm sorry, about the forms of avoir and être, because the thing is they are used in the formation of another tense called plus que parfait. So basically, that would be the past perfect in English, and we are going to use basically the imperfect of the auxiliary verbs with the past participle in order to obtain it, right? So that's where this retaining this is important. So we're going to go through them, and they're going to be like this: j'avais, tu avais, il elle en avait, nous avions, vous aviez, il elle avait. And être, j'étais, tu étais, il elle en était, nous étions, vous étiez, elle était. We have to make some observations. For example, there are some rules, let's say, of writing when we are talking about the verbs in ending in er. As we can see over here, for the first three conjugations and the last one, the C becomes a C with the cedilla. So we're going to basically, we're going to pronounce it the same, but in writing you have to attach this cedilla to the C for this specific person. Je lançais, tu lançais, il lançait, nous lancions, vous lanciez, il lançait. It's going to be the same pronunciation, but the writing will be a little different, and it's important to know what the rules are for this. For the verbs in j'ai, for example, we have manger. We've noticed that there is an additional e, because if we are going to also notice in the present, I've made a short about it, so maybe you can check that out as well. We noticed that there was an additional id that was maintained in the radical form. So we're going to have this as well. It's used for verbs that end in ger. It's specific. So ranger, manger, voyager, all those verbs uh, are going to be conjugated like this. Lastly, we are going to also do a little bit of an exercise. So we have to put the verbs in the parentheses at the imperfect form. En 1994, je habitais à Toulouse. So in 1994, I want to say I lived in Toulouse. So we know it's definitely in the past. We know it's over a period of time. So what I'm going to say? Well, I'm going to take out er, right? So I'm going to strike it like this, and I'm going to use the radical form and attach the termination, which is going to be ays for je. J'habitais. En 1994, j'habitais à Toulouse. Next, we have pendant notre enfance. It means during our childhood, nous jouions au tennis. We played or we are playing tennis. So, what do? We take out the er, we maintain the same rule, and then we're going to adjust it in order to use the termination ionis. So, pendant notre enfance, nous jouions au tennis. Right? So, here we had verbs from the first group. Now we have verb from the second group, finir. Well, in order to do that, we conjugated, well, I mean, we conjugated to the first person plural first. We know it is finissons. We take out the ons, and after that, it's going to become finissions. Right? Est-ce que, oh, I'm sorry, I did a mistake. Finissez. Finissez. Because it's tu, it's not no. Sorry, it can happen to anyone, so be careful, be mindful. If you noticed anything that should be corrected, tell me. That actually means that you are learning and you are understanding. So I'm going to also mark the termination over here and over here as well. What it means uh, is it true that you finished always around 6 p.m.? Then we have tous les jours, elle lui rendre visite. Now, rendre is a verb in the third form. What do we do when we talk about a verb in the third form? Then, the thing is, with verbs in the third form, the I mean, I haven't talked really much about the conjugation, but this one is one that behaves a little bit kind of the same as the ones in the first group. So I'm going to uh, I'm going to conjugate it in the first person plural. When we have random, we take out. This is a general rule for them, right? So for obtaining the imperfect, this is a general logic. So you you cannot fail with it. And then you would have elle lui rendait, right? Because the subject that we're talking about is elle. So, what we meant to say here, tous les jours, elle lui rendait visite. All the days, she used to visit him. And then we have aller, where we know that uh, the conjugation is different, is specific, so you have to follow this let's say way of thinking, and you would conjugate it first at the first person plural, allons in the present, right? First person plural present, which there then is going to become allele, and we're going to write the termination for vous, alliez, for imperfect. So you're going to have vous alliez souvent au cinéma. You used to go often at the cinema. Well, that was it for today's lesson. I hope that you had a great time and you understood the imperfect form. If you have any questions, undoubtedly tell me in the comments and I will answer you as fast as possible. For now, bye bye.